welcome to Mind Your Business, the channel where we are in at everybody's business. If you don't mind getting in people's business, you're on the right channel. Talking about current topics and gossip.
So the ladies were still sounding off from part 1 of the reunion. And then you've got Glenn standing there saying to Letitia that, well, you know, queens don't come down off their throne and chase snakes. I'm like, interesting coming from you, because, I mean, obviously you were chasing all kinds of things last season, which is why they had to do a paternity test for you. So you really just need to be quiet. Plus, you also got some snaky moves of yourself going on, because don't you keep tabs on your woman? How can we just pop up like you're some flipping Jack in the Box anytime, any place, wherever Letitia did there? Wagwan, those people, Mike, because his crew. Let's talk about the Belle Collective Reunion Part 2. Now, like I said, it started off with them, you know, in the dressing room, and then we quickly moved to Carlos asking about Marie and her mum, and she says her mum's obviously still battling, and that, you know, it's hard for her because she owns one of the largest facilities in the area that helps people with, you know, recovery from drugs, and she can't help her mum. Carlos also explained to her that, you know, people think that she's mean and comes across as a bully, and she's talking about, as far as she's concerned, she's a bully for the truth. You're a bully for being in other people's business. This is what I'd say. I don't understand this. And talking about how everyone doesn't clock in, you know, she clocks in for work. Apparently Latrice has just started clocking in as far as she's concerned, and Tambra doesn't really clock in. Now, I kind of get the Tambra bit, because I don't feel like we see a lot of Tambra's life. I feel like we see, you know, a little bit of them on, not much, you know, everything's very, it seems like it's very orchestrated to a bit there, but that could be because Tambra sees that you've got a bad mind and she don't want to share much with you. That could be it too. But anyway, Tambra shares that, you know, her new baby doesn't have the same last name as Damon. Now, I know some people might feel away about this. I think it's interesting because I grew up with lots of girls that had their mum's surnames, and then I've got my dad's surname, but my mum and dad weren't married. So I kind of understand those who are not married and want to make sure when they go to register their child that they've got the same surname and all that kind of stuff. Maybe that's where she's coming from. Some people think that it's an arrangement with her and Damon. I don't know. I think we need to see more of that to actually get a proper insight. It does seem a little bit off a bit, but I don't know. I'd like to see a bit more. I just feel like they both seem a little bit awkward when they're doing their little confessional talks, but I'd like to see a bit more of them. Anyway, I thought Marie was being very bad mind as usual, because when Carlos asks her why she felt the need to kind of out Tambra's pregnancy on Twitter rather than it being revealed in the show, because that is bad mind. You actually stole her a moment from her. Now she's chatting about, well, she didn't know it was a secret, and she didn't, you know, she don't talk to her, she's not friends with her. Well, main point is it's not your rotted business why you are opening her mouth in the first place. Anyway, then she says that Tambra is playing victim, and how Marie, is offended because apparently she could have been put in danger along with the other Belles. This is a big reach. Like, please, just be quiet, stick a pin, because essentially you are the one that caused this whole mix-up and, you know, went and contacted the man anyway in the first place. So you helped put everybody in danger with your moves, because, you know, you're there trying to say, well, Tambra does empowerment events, and, you know, basically she talks about, you know, domestic abuse and all this type of stuff, and she's got her own situation going on. But it was down to you, because, you know, like Latrice pointed out, the man was in everybody's DMs, yeah? You and Letitia decided to go and reach out to the man and go and meet up with the man, and Marie's talking about, yeah, well, he says that he wanted to, you know, prove his side of the story. Do you know the man from Adam? So why are you trying to help a man you don't know prove his story against a so-called friend of your own? No, sir. You're you're wrong, and you need to be quiet and stay out of people's business. It doesn't make no sense. She needs to find a man, find something else to go on with your life, because this don't make no damn sense. Because Tambra said, you know, the whole situation was from 2016, so why are you going to judge up things from back then and then put her in danger presently because you're judging up stuff from then? It's ridiculous. So as far as I'm concerned, they were both wrong. I'm glad that Letitia owned it and apologised. Marie did apologise, but let's be real, you don't seem like she really means her apology, because, you know, she's talking about, well, he wanted to clear his name. That's not your business. You don't even know the man, just toot in her. And then it was interesting when Tambra was trying to get her part in and trying to rebut. She was saying that, you know, Marie's being talked about. But then Marie started shouting and talking over the woman and saying her and Damon are not together and they got a little business relationship. It's basically just a storyline. And I'm just like, no, Carlos should have gotten her to stop. Like, Marie, stop, you've had your moment. Let Tambra finish what she's got to say. I don't like this talking over business. I thought that was damn well rude. And then Akeisha made me laugh because she's like, yes, I'm proud of you, Tamara, for standing up for yourself. That bit made me laugh. Next, we have obviously Cliff and Latrice. Now, we know that, it's been shown that Cliff is very controlling. Latrice has said that herself. And obviously there's that scene when they're at the M bar where he's grabbing her. So Carlos asks her straight out, about, does he grab you like a lot, basically? And, the fact that he was grabbing her and calling her a bitch. So he asks her, does he grab you often? And she said, no, he doesn't grab me often. I'm like, he shouldn't be grabbing you at all. So the often doesn't cut it for me. Anyway, he asks her about, him calling her a bitch. She says that she calls him a bitch first. And then obviously Carlos pushes back and said, that's not what I asked you. And I thought, okay, well, that's good. But let's be real. Who is going to really admit to being in any sort of domestic abuse situation live on TV with your alleged abuser sitting right next to you? Like, come on, people. It's just a bit ridiculous. Anyway, when Carlos asks about her being does he call her a bitch? She says, well, not really. Only she calls him one. I'm just like, okay. Because even the whole cast look down and look away like, I smell some bullshit going on here. Now, Carlos asks her, are you in an abusive relationship? Like, come on. Who is going to say they're in an abusive relationship if they've been abused? Like, that's not how it works. If you've been in an abusive relationship, you're not just going to be sitting on TV chatting about yes, when you've got your potential, alleged abuser sitting next to you. It's not gonna fly, is it, really? It's just not the right environment for this. It's just not right. I didn't like that at all. I didn't like that. She, anyway, goes on to say, I'm glad you asked that question. And if people are in that sort of situation, they would try and cover up their abuse. For example, if the person had put their hands around their throat. Well, some people don't do that. Some people are quite clever and will get you in ways that you can't see, very discreet ways. There are different ways of dealing with abuse. Not saying that he is abusing her, but I will say that I am suspicious, okay? Because obviously it's alleged. I'm suspicious based on the way that he's so controlling and possessive and, needing her to have his authority to do things, even with her own business. So my eyebrow does definitely go up and I'm definitely side-eyeing that whole situation. But anyway, Latrice basically says he's old school, but he ain't no fool and he won't put hands on her. So she's been adamant about that. Carlos asks the Bells, and say, like, what do they think? And then Cliff kind of interjects and says if she was in any danger, she could call 911 and she's got her own money so she could leave. And then Akeisha made a really good point, which is, there's people who have been in a relationship for years who are basically getting beat down, but for years in relationships, and they don't call 911. So that doesn't mean that stuff isn't happening. So I thought she made a good point there. Now, he admits that he is, what he says, demanding rather than controlling. He says that he's demanding. And that he didn't really choose her because she's young, how she basically stepped to him. But saying that, he doesn't have a tracker on her, but they do share each other's locations. So I'm like, well, that is pretty still controlling because you're still seeing exactly where she's at. But you don't have a tracker on the car, like Glenn. Glenn put some sort of tracker on her car. Anyway, allegedly. Now, Carlos did ask Letitia because obviously he knows that Letitia and Latrice were quite close, and asked, did Latrice ever share anything concerning with Letitia? And Letitia that, she wouldn't share their conversations in front of this group. Like, she'd keep that private. Unlike Latrice, she feels like, if it's between them, it's in confidence. So I thought that was decent. And, a decent thing to do. Anyway, so when Carlos is asking him about, what actually happened with this whole M bar situation where he kind of grabbed her and was calling her a bitch and, being out of order, he says basically it was because he was upset with her because she went out with Josh after he was upset with Josh the day before and kind of kicked him out. So he was mad about that. So I took out his anger for Josh on her. Mm-hmm. Anyway, Latrice said that she feels safe and, she wouldn't trade her life for anyone on the stage. And, she thinks it's a huge misconception and that she's not afraid to leave her husband and he's not put hands on her and she wouldn't be with him if he did. He says that, he loves his wife to death and he wouldn't put hands on her. So, okay, that's what they are saying. That's what they're sticking to. I still side-eye it all because of the behaviour that he has displayed within those little scenes. But, I don't live with them. I don't know if she's going to stick with the story, then we have to stick with the story. But I do side-eye it, and I hope that this is all very true. Now, Josh did come along and kind of help confirm. But again, I felt like Josh is in a predicament where he can't really say too much because he did say a lot in the first place. So we know Josh comes out. They review the history with Josh and being with Latrice and Cliff and the fact that he lived with them during the whole water crisis where we saw scenes of them interacting and him telling, Latrice that he's quite controlling basically. And And obviously Latrice is confiding in him because they are very friendly, but I do feel like Josh did overstep his mark by trying to push back at the husband, because he feels like, you know, Latrice is essentially telling him these things so that he could then bring it up in front of the husband. But I think she just confided in you because she needed something to confide in, and you've got to leave that to her because only she can leave her husband, which I feel like he learned that lesson. But, you know, Carlos did ask him, you know, had he seen anything that gave him concern? And he said no. He doesn't like the way that Cliff talks to Latrice. So I felt like when Carlos asked him the question about have you witnessed anything, you know, he's not going to really want to out his friend either. Because, I mean, think about it. If someone is going through these domestic abuse situations, this is not just like TV fodder. This is not something that you could deal with in that sort of situation. So, you know, but I still feel like, you know, he had those eyes looking at him. So, you know, he wouldn't really want to say what he really saw, would he? Especially after the whole fallout of him actually speaking up for her and how that's ended. He's not going to want to say anything, even if he did see something. So Cliff says that he was, you know, wrong for his behaviour at the end bar towards Joshy, and decides that he's going to apologise to Joshy, and says that, you know, he apologises for disrespecting him. Josh didn't really receive it too well at first because he feels like he's just saying it now rather than being real, but Cliff's saying he is basically being real. Josh says, okay, well, fine. Essentially, he accepts the apology, and Cliff is saying that he owes him an apology, and Josh is saying that he tried to apologise before, so them two are still essentially at odds because there was disagreement about that. Latrice is in the middle of that, and so that she hates that they're at odds because obviously it's her husband and it's her best friend, so, you know, it's a bit awkward. Josh says that he feels like Cliff kind of downplayed the relationship because he got along quite fine with Cliff, obviously, at one point, and now Cliff is acting like he don't really check for the man. Carlos is also trying to broker peace here and telling Josh that it's not that deep, which I didn't agree with, because I don't feel like you can tell someone how they feel, because only Josh is in that situation and had that man shouting at him and being rude to him at the end bar when he said that he went over to him to see what's going on because he didn't realise that Cliff was still angry at him, and Cliff started kind of coming at him in an aggressive way, as in cussing him off and stuff. So only he knows how he feels. Only he was in those predicaments with, you know, living underneath their roof. So, you know, you can't really tell a man that it's not that deep, because that's not your place to say that. That's how I feel about that anyway. But I thought it was also interesting that Josh said that him and Latrice are good, but they don't communicate as much as they used to. And that's obviously because of the fracture that's been caused, because obviously Latrice must feel like she's in the middle, because obviously she's going to choose her husband. Husband will be putting pressure on her because, you know, he's going to say that's my wife, and, you know, he's really controlling. And then obviously she still wants that friendship with her, with Joshy. So I feel like it's a bit awkward for all of them. But Joshy did get a bit emotional towards the ending, and I felt like that could be a different range of issues. You know, it could be because of the way the reunion was and the fact that maybe Carlos downplayed his feelings, but it could also be because maybe he knows more than he's letting on. Or he could just been going through something personal, like, who knows? I don't know. But anyway, that's my recap of that. What do you guys think? I'm looking forward to next week because you've got the daughters. JJ's daughter is going to be on the show and talk about this whole So Gucci situation with their mum. So I think that would be really interesting to, you know, get their take on it and see what happens. So yes, I'll be staying tuned. But what did you guys think of this reunion? It was very Latrice and Cliff focused, but I do feel like because it's such a sensitive situation, talking about domestic abuse and domestic violence, that stage isn't necessarily the place for it. And I don't feel like asking someone flat out, are you being abused, is necessarily healthy, because they're not gonna admit to it. Like, let's be real. And check out some of these social media tweets of people talking about the Belle Collective that were interesting and some were funny. Anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts below.
Yes, so thanks for watching that. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, share, and hit that notification bell so you know when I am uploading some more of people's business. So until then, my nosy people, stay blessed.